Hello, I'm Landon Richie. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm 16 years old, and this is the first time I've been in front of an audience this big. This is awesome. I want to thank Aaron, Rachel, and the incredible folks here at Out and Equal. I'm here because they believe in the power of the youth voice to drive change at a time in our country when we all must speak up. And like most teenagers, we tend to have a lot to say. My story begins with the first step I ever took. Since the time I could walk, talk, and think for myself, I was aware that I was in some way different from my peers and those around me. I gravitated towards and insisted on wearing boys' clothes, and the same went with my insistence on being associated with boys' toys and characters in role-playing games. My prized possession was a cowboy costume I got when I was 5. A hat, black boots, and a plaid shirt. That costume made me so happy. Cowboy Clay was a character at that time on one of my favorite cartoons. I loved him, so it seemed fitting that the moment I put on that costume, I actually became him. To the extent that for the next year, I insisted on being called Cowboy Clay. As I grew older, I eventually had a word to somewhat make sense of how I felt: tomboy. But I quickly came to understand that I was not a girl that liked boys' things, but that I was a boy. I was around 10 or 11 when I discovered the word transgender. It was through browsing the internet and at a band camp during the summer before my 7th grade year. On the very last day of camp, I met a camper who was transgender, and he showed me a trans man's timeline video on YouTube. This was huge for me, and those two moments came together with total clarity. I fully saw myself, and I no longer felt alone or like it was impossible to live my truth. A week later, I sent an email from my room to my mom, who's just on the hall, to share the news that I was trans. I sat against the wall in my bedroom, knees pressed against my chest. I was shaking, staring at what I had written on the screen and knowing I had to hit send. With a simple click, my life changed forever. I feared the worst. Here we were, living in southeastern Texas, otherwise known as one of the most conservative parts of one of the most conservative states in our nation. From my house, it's only a 10-minute drive to the cotton fields. Many of the subdivisions still bear the names of infamous plantations that once stood there, and some streets are even named after the heroes of the Confederacy. Where being anything other than a white, cisgender, straight, Christian male comes at your own peril. And then there were my parents. Kids who come out to their parents often feel paralyzing fear about how they will react. I was no exception. My dad, who's here with me today. I love you, Dad. My dad was raised in the Pentecostal church. He'll tell you that the church drilled into his head from his earliest memories that being gay was pure evil. You were always guaranteed an epic annual sermon devoted entirely to dehumanizing the community. Back then, the church had no idea what it meant to be transgender, so the gay community was the target. Even though my dad left the church in his 20s, The damage inflicted upon him was so deep, so profound, that when I came out as transgender, my dad was overwhelmed with fear. Fear for what would happen to me, fear because he had no understanding, fear because he felt completely unprepared to help me. The one thing he and my mom did have was love. They loved me, and it turns out that's what I needed. That started our family journey. Me, my two siblings, my mom and my dad. We found and surrounded ourselves with a community, the most powerful community, an oasis of love and support surrounded by a desert of ignorance and intolerance. I was 11 years old when I came out. Now, at 16, I am able to live as me, Landon. With the unconditional support of my family, friends, and community, I am thriving. But with this comes a massive responsibility to help my trans and non-binary peers who do not have the same support I have. I am here on this stage, in this room, using my voice for them. Early on in my journey, I was told that we are all diamonds, formed under conditions of immense heat and pressure, made up of many different faces, sides, and angles, all of which make the diamond a beautiful, valuable gem. Being transgender happens to be one facet of that diamond, but it is only that. It isn't a defining aspect of who we are, for we are beyond that singular face. When we are embraced for who we are, we thrive and shine. Thank you.